Today we're going to talk about using local storage to implement cross-tab and cross-window communication in the front end of the browser. Okay, so to jump straight in, I'm going to give an example. And first of all, let's just show that there's two windows here, side by side, in Chrome. And they're both running separate pages on the same domain, which is in this case google.com. Okay, so let's go back to Sublime and I'll zoom in for you mobile guys. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to write an event listener for the local storage. So if I say add event listener for storage, and when this triggers, we're going to want to run a function. And we're going to want to have the local storage event passed through to that function. So let's do that. And then to keep things simple, I'm going to console log the event object that's passed through. Okay, so I'm going to copy this code and I'll zoom out again. And I'm going to go into the dev console on each of the browsers. And I'll clear this. If I zoom in down here, I'll paste in the event listener that we just wrote. Okay, so that's now running on this, this browser window. And then if I go down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger a local storage event, and we're going to see if the browser window on the left picks up the event. Okay, so I'm going to say local storage dot set item. So I'm storing an item in the local storage, and I'm going to say the key for that item is A, and at the same time the value for that item is B. So I'm going to run that, and over here we can see that as a result of picking up that storage event, the event object itself has been console logged, and that's here. So this lets us see what properties we have in that object and what we're dealing with when we're working with local storage and event listeners. So the important properties here are URL. So this is /support. So this is the address from which the local storage event was triggered. Okay, so that's obviously pretty useful. We have new value, which is B in this case. That's because we set the value to B here. And also we have here that the key, which is A, and that's represented here in the object key A. We also have old value, which is initially null. And that is as it sounds. So if we were to update this value, B, to say C, then the old value next time would be saying B. Okay, and just to give an example here, I'm going to run the same action again, and you'll notice that on the left nothing is triggered, and I think that's some sort of mechanism to stop duplicate events just triggering the listener over and over again, and nothing's being picked up because the key and the value is the same, so nothing's changed here really. There's no point in broadcasting this local storage event or this change. But if I was to change this slightly, so say the key is still A but the value is C, and if I run that, then we get a new event being triggered on the left here. And you can see what I was saying earlier, the old value is being listed as B and the new value is C. Okay, so you may be wondering why you'd want to do this if you haven't already realized the possibilities here. If you think of a web app, say something like Twitter, or an app that you're building, where at the top right you may have the user's local avatar, you may have a button in the middle which lets the user perform an action like post a tweet or follow this user. And if you think the user may have, say, 10 browser tabs open, and all of those tabs would have buttons or actions in them letting the user do things because they're logged in. So imagine if you were to log out of one of the tabs, and then if you switched to one of the other tabs, you may still see buttons saying follow this guy or tweet this or perform an action. And of course, when you clicked on those buttons, you wouldn't be able to perform that action because you're no longer authenticated. So you could say when you go to that tab, the experience you're getting is false until you do something, until you try and perform an action as the authenticated user. And at that point, it would say, sorry, you're not authenticated. You can't do any of this stuff. So by using this cross-tab and cross-browser communication technique, you'd be able to have a function in your web app which says if a local storage item occurs which is saying the user's logged out, then you could locally refresh the whole page, or you could hide certain buttons, or you could do anything really and just provide a better experience so that when the user does switch back to the old tabs, those tabs would be up to date with the local state of the session that they were in. Just to recap on one more thing, there is a slight gotcha with using this technique, and that is when you use IE. So normally this local storage set item and the listener has been implemented in such a way, and it's supposed to be like this, so that if the local storage item is being set in this window here, it's only picked up by the event listeners in other windows like this one over here. So if I also had this event listener running in this window where I set the item, the event wouldn't be triggered locally. And that makes sense because if you're triggering the event in here, you can handle some code around that yourself, and you can say, okay, then hide these buttons or log the user out or something. There's no need to trigger something, create an action here, and then react to it through an event listener. Okay, so if you think of 10 tabs being open, one of the tabs sets the item, and the other 9 pick up on it and react to it like this. Okay, and the gotcha is, in IE, the tab where you set the item will also pick up on the action. Okay, so that means if you've got 10 tabs, one of the tabs sets the item, all 10 of those tabs would run this code and react to that action. Okay, and I think that pretty much covers it for now. If you've learnt anything here, please like and subscribe because I'll be doing more of these. Okay, thanks a lot.